Good morning, hello. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you are doing well in these unexpected, crazy times. My name is June Allen and I am the founder of The Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So today I wanted to jump in and have a conversation with you about what does doing the healing work actually mean? What does it actually mean? We hear these words thrown around quite a lot in the wellness space. We hear people saying, are you doing the work? You need to do the work. But what does it actually look like? What does it actually mean for you? It's going to be different for different people. But today I wanted to share with you some of the things that I personally do, and what my belief is around what it means to actually do the work. But before I get into that, I just want to give you a little bit of background. For those of you that don't know me, I am a mum, I'm an entrepreneur, I am a therapist in training, and I'm a retreat facilitator. And I absolutely love what I do. Hi, thanks for joining. I absolutely love what I do. I came into doing this work about, when was it, 2009. I went into, hi Dana, thanks for joining. I came into doing this work in 2009. And sorry, not this particular work, but started my own healing journey back in 2009 off the back of a relationship that was incredibly painful. I kept finding myself in a cycle of being in relationships that weren't helpful, that were very destructive, that were addictive. And I needed to find out what was going on. The common denominator was me. And that's not to kind of victim blame, but just me wanted to take responsibility for my part. I wanted to find out what were the reasons why I kept ending up in these relationships. So I went into 12-step recovery, learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about what it means to be a human being. And what was missing from that, it was really good, but what was missing from that was the cultural context. I didn't understand how to apply what I'd learned in that process. What does it mean to be a black woman? How does it relate to being a black woman? How does it relate to still living inside a system that's oppressive, that's anti-black? And there's not really that many black people in recovery at that time, and I couldn't find any answers. Nobody was really having that conversation. So that's when I became obsessed with trying to figure out how I could start to apply that to my healing process. So I started doing a lot of research, started doing a lot of reading, exploring, all of that kind of stuff, and the light bulbs just started going off. And as soon as that started to happen, I found myself in a situation where people started to ask me for more support. They started asking me for what I was doing and all of that kind of stuff. So that was really good. And I knew that I wasn't the only one that had these sorts of feelings. And the more people started asking me for my support and stuff, I just thought, you know what? I need to start talking about this stuff a lot more publicly, because I knew there was a lot of black women in pain, or black people in pain, and I wanted to share the message. So I began sharing a lot more openly on this platform back in 2006, and that is how The Art of Greatness was born. And here I am, a few years later, now obviously training to be a therapist. I'm on the last leg of my training, it's been tougher, especially this year, going through everything. But I've learned so much, and I continue to share as I learn and I grow. So I absolutely love what I do. I love being a therapist, it's been an empowering time. So that's a little bit of a hi, Corinne. Thanks for joining. So that's a little bit about me. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll dive into the content. So I currently run, I have a mastermind for black women, a wellness mastermind. And the theme for this month, obviously with Christmas around the corner, the holidays around the corner, however you celebrate it. So the whole theme for this month is about handling the holidays, exploring, how is COVID going to affect the holidays? How is, what are you going to do? How is it going to impact your well-being? We're exploring all of that stuff in the mastermind this month. So on the 22nd of last weekend, we did a really powerful session, just exploring, what your history of the holidays was, what are your values around the holidays, and all of that kind of stuff. So we had quite a good discussion around all of that, and then on the 22nd of November. We're actually going to put a plan in place so that we can then be really beginning to understand Okay, now we understand what our history and what our values are around the holidays. What are the struggles? What are the things that people find really difficult? And then we're going to put a plan in place for them to actually include their needs. Because once you understand, you know, what the pain is around a lot of it, then that can kind of give you a lot of answers as to what your needs are. So we're going to put all that in place on the 22nd of November. So yeah, so if you're interested in joining me in the mastermind for that, you can click the link in the bio, or you can go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. Something else I have new actually, which I've just kind of sorted out, is if you're not really ready to kind of dive into the mastermind, maybe you don't want to, you know, you're not sure whether you want to dive into it yet. Obviously, there might be money worries or whatever with everything that's going on with COVID. I've actually created a 90-day pass offer in the mastermind at standard level, where you can join the mastermind for 3 months for £97. So if you go to if you click the link in the bio, you can find out a lot more details around what you'll get and all the rest of it. So yeah, so if you're not ready to kind of, hi Dorel, thank you for joining. So somebody's got a question, trying to start with, okay, finish off what you're saying, and I can't read the rest of it. But yeah, so if you're not ready to kind of dive in full throttle into the membership, and you just want to dip your toe in and have a little taste to see what it's about, then you can join you know, via the 90-day pass. And then you can decide after that if you want to do it, because then that will give you an opportunity, especially if the holidays are difficult, especially if you're struggling with you know, anything around COVID and, you know, the holidays. Maybe you've got toxic family members that you're not really sure how to deal with and all the rest of it. You can come for the 90 days, see how you feel, and if you want to carry on into the new year, then that's, you know, obviously that's your choice. But I just wanted to do that to give people an option as to do that, so you can join the mastermind that way. Okay, so anything that I say in the broadcast today, obviously, if you've got any questions or anything that you don't understand, you can drop your comments below. Or I obviously understand as well that this is a public platform, so if you don't want to drop your questions and stuff below, then you can send me a direct message, or you can email me at info@yardofgreatness.com. And the last thing that I will say in terms of the housekeeping is, obviously, this is not a substitute for seeing a licensed mental health professional. So, yeah, everything that I say is for information purposes only. So that is the housekeeping out of the way. So for those of you that have just joined, my name is June Allen, and I am the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So today's topic is all about what does the healing work actually mean? What does it actually mean? I was saying at the top of the broadcast, we hear this phrase thrown around all the time, and so what does it actually mean? Like, what do people mean when they say that, doing the work? So I wanted to share with you 3 different things that are important, okay, that are important around doing the work, okay? And it might actually give you some answers as well as to why things are not working, why you're not feeling any different, why you don't feel like you're moving forward. So this is going to be really, really important for that. If you know anyone that you think might be interested in this topic, please tag them, share it with them, so they can get some of the good that I'm going to share. Okay, so the first thing to think about doing the work, what does the healing work actually mean, is you have to be willing to tell the truth. Okay, now as black people, as black women in particular, we're so used to doing stuff for other people. We're so used to getting our sense of worth by what we give to other people, that we're not always willing to tell the truth about what our needs are. Okay, so we end up getting stuck in a cycle of what everybody else needs, what society says that we're allowed to have, and so we end up not being able to take care of ourselves because we're stuck in that cycle of doing stuff for other people. Okay, now I know that a lot of us do a lot of writing, and actually doing journaling is one of the first ways, one of the primary ways that a lot of us begin to tell the truth to ourselves. But some of us even find it difficult to do that. You know, we're quite comfortable maybe talking about gratitude, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, writing out what you're grateful for and stuff like that. But a lot of us really struggle with telling the truth about our pain. It's almost like we're afraid to tell the truth about our pain because we're afraid that if we start telling the truth about our pain, that there's going to be an avalanche of emotion, an avalanche of stuff. And we're afraid to tell the truth about our pain because we're afraid of what the responsibility of what happens if you tell the truth. That's the reason why a lot of us don't tell the truth. So we get stuck in the lie. We get stuck in the lie of how we feel. We get stuck in the lie of what we want. We get stuck in the lie of of what we really need in this situation. And I think with the pandemic that's happening, with the election, the US election, that's brought us a lot of, you know, a lot of pain as well. You know, even though I live in the UK, I still found watching the election really painful. I found it really, really painful because, you know, the fact that there are so many people over there that still chose to vote for somebody that was so invested in oppressing black people, people of colour, you know, that was incredibly painful. That was incredibly painful. But what was important as opposed in response to doing the work, or in relation to doing the work, is that I had to do my work by, first of all, putting my hands up and going, actually, yeah, this was really painful. Okay, I don't live in the US or whatever, but this was really painful, and why it was painful. And then in telling that truth, I was able to say to myself, okay, well, what do I actually need? What do I actually need? Who do I need to speak to? Do I need to have a conversation with my therapist? Do I need to speak to a friend? Do I need to speak to, you know, my support network? Do I need to go to a recovery meeting? All of these things are really, really important, but I had to be willing to tell the truth to myself. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, are you currently telling the truth? Are you currently telling the truth? Or are you just sucking it up and just getting on with it and not really being honest with yourself? Because, you know, it might be that you don't have a safe space to be able to tell the truth to yourself. And that's another reason why so many of us have to lie to ourselves, abandon ourselves, because we don't have a safe space to tell the truth. I would say that's probably the primary reason why so many of us as black people don't tell the truth about how we feel, about doing the healing work, because it's not a safe space. And sometimes that safe space can mean that we can't even tell the truth to people that look like us. And I know that that's going to be a lot for people to hear, but a lot of the women that I work with, I would say the majority of the women that I work with in the mastermind or in a one-to-one session, is not through what white people have done to them. Even though we know racism is real, the core pain that I deal with with clients is what other black people, what other black family members have done to them. That's where their core pain is, you know. And a lot of them find it really, really difficult to work with other black people because they're not having these types of conversations. You know, they're not having these types of conversations about the pain that happens in black relationship, whether it's relationship with self, whether it's mother wound, whether it's you know, family sibling rivalry, whether it's other black women, that whole conversation around not trusting other black women. These are all really, really important conversations as part of the healing process. But for a lot of us as black people, we don't really want to have those conversations because it's painful for us. And a lot of black people in the wellness space are not having that conversation. They're not willing to have that conversation, and that's why a lot of women choose to come and work with me, because I'm the only one. I'm one of the very few black women that's having this conversation about what black people do to each other and what we can do about it, and making this space safe. You know, and one of the things that I found particularly poignant is that a lot of us don't feel safe. They don't feel safe, and I always say this to practitioners that are, you know, if you're working predominantly with other black people, okay, you really, really need to be having these conversations. First of all, you've got to do your own work. This is one of the reasons why I stay in therapy. This is one of the reasons why I'm so convicted about doing my own work, because I need to understand my own triggers around other black people. If I'm going to work with other black people, I have to do my own work. I have to be willing to have the conversation about understanding my own internalized racism. I have to understand my own internalized pain around other black people, other black women, in order for me to hold space for other black women. And the fact that I can say that, and the fact that the women that come to me, they know that conversation is allowed, it makes them feel safe to come to me and have that conversation. And I've had so many women that say that to me. They say, like, you know, am I going to be? I'm a bit scared. I'm a bit scared to come and heal with other black women, because my mum was my first bully. you know, or they just grew up with other black women that were abusive. Even now, you know, their mums are still abusive, and so that's embedded. That's embedded in the fear around how on earth am I going to do this healing work when I've got so much pain, and I find it so triggering being around other black women. I find it so painful, you know. That's what I hear a lot, and this is why it's so important for the space to be really, really safe, to be really, really safe. But you have to be willing to tell that truth, and it's hard sometimes to tell that truth. It's hard to tell that truth because the responsibility that comes after telling that truth, you know, you've got to be you've got to know, you've got to be willing to take responsibility and trust that all will be revealed. You've got to let go of the outcome. I think is what I'm trying to say. Okay, you've got to be willing to let go of the outcome, and this is the second, number 2. You've got to be willing to let go of the outcome around doing this healing work, because I think that a lot of us avoid it because we're like, oh, you want to control it, you want to control how the healing process works, and it doesn't work like that. You're like, oh, I want to do the healing work, but I really want to stay in relationship with this person, even though they're abusive, even though they're mean to me, even though they don't hear me, even though they're, you know, they've been neglectful and abusive. I still want to stay in relationship with this person. That's not doing the healing work. Good morning, thanks for joining, everybody. That's not doing the healing work. The healing work means you have to surrender to the process. You have to be willing to let go of the outcome of what that means. And I know that is terrifying for a lot of us, because that whole abandonment thing, that whole thing of, oh my God, I don't want to be by myself, so I'm going to stay in this toxic situation because it's better than me being by myself. You've got to trust that the process is going to bring you people that are going to help you with this process. And I know that's excruciating. That was one of the most excruciating things for me, actually, when I started doing this work. Understanding that, oh my God, just like, am I going to be by myself? You know, how am I going to trust other people? How am I going to trust other black women? But, you know, I had a really powerful conversation with my therapist yesterday, and we were talking about this very thing, you know, and it was so beautiful because I was able to say to her, and just really acknowledge how much my network has changed. How much my network has changed, because I feel that my ancestors have led me to certain people and led me to this particular therapist to do the trauma work that I'm doing with her at the moment. And it's been absolutely amazing. It's been hard. Don't get me wrong. It's frigging hard work and it's painful. But I'm in a situation where I'm working with women. I'm working with a therapist who is so committed to what she does, and in me working with her, it means that my cup is full and I'm able to give to you. Does that make sense? Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Dana. Yeah, it's great. I'm able to give to you, you know, and this is how it works. This is how it works. You can't support other people. You can't support your family. You can't support your relationships and all of that kind of stuff if your cup is empty. If your cup is filled with so much pain and so much resentment and grief and all of that kind of, all that difficult stuff that we have to deal with, you can't move forward. You can't go through the heal. You can't heal if you're not willing to do this stuff, you know. So somebody's saying, it's so true. When my journey changed, I found a shamanic therapist. This is the thing. When you just surrender to it, okay, and you just let go of the outcome, and you just like, do you know what, ancestors, higher power, God, however you want to name it, when you surrender to that and just say, look, I am willing to step into this, okay, I want to break generational curses. I don't want to do the things that my parents did to me. I don't want my children to go through that stuff that I went through as a child. When you make that decision, okay, stuff starts happening and people start coming into your life. Situations start coming into your life that you don't even know you're being blessed. And you know, you're being blessed and you don't even know it. You're being blessed and you don't even know it. But you have to be willing to let go of the outcome. You've got to be willing to tell the truth. If you're not willing to tell the truth, things are always going to be the same. if you're not willing to tell the truth, things are always going to be the same. And this is one of the most powerful things that I've actually learned actually about being in this whole lockdown thing. I know the COVID thing is painful as hell. It's difficult. It's inconvenient. It's traumatizing. All of those things. But one of the lessons, one of the blessings that I've got out of this pandemic and being in lockdown is the fact that I've able to be have a lot more reflection time. Okay, I've given myself permission to have a lot more rest. I've had a lot more reflection time. I've had a lot more, I've looked at my relationship with my daughter a lot more. I've been able to ask myself all these questions like, okay, if I'm saying these are my values, am I living in these values, or am I just talking shit? Are you talking shit, or are you actually doing the work? Are you committed to doing the work, or are you just talking it because it sounds fluffy? Fluff ain't going to do the healing. You ain't going to heal with fluff. You're going to heal with action. It means having the difficult conversations. It means feeling the things that you don't want to feel. So somebody's saying, since then, my whole world has changed. The way I practice as a therapist has changed. My home has changed. My image has changed. Changed me. Lockdown reflection has been powerful. Thank you. It's about when you just let go of that and just surrender to it, to just keep it in the day. If you're finding things difficult, and I've had to do this myself because there's been times where I've felt overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. Just because I've done all this work, it doesn't absolve me of all my feelings. That's another thing. Do you know what I mean? That's another thing. Doing the healing work doesn't mean that you're not going to feel anything, or that somehow, my emotions are just going to always be happy. I don't work like that. Doing the healing work means that you accept your humanity, that you're more accepting of what is going on for you as a human being, and you start to pay attention to what's going on in your body. You start to pay attention to what the language of what your body is trying to teach you. And Room to Talk has been saying this. She's a great therapist as well. It's important to just surrender to it and just allow yourself to be honest, and to ask for help. This is the last one. The third thing, you've got to be willing to ask for help. Now, I think because of a lot of the stuff that I shared earlier on in this broadcast, a lot of us as black women, we're scared to ask for help. We think that somehow that we always have to be the strong one, that we always have to, be the mules for everybody else. One of the things that's really annoyed me actually about all of the stuff that's going on in the election is almost like, black women always have to be the grown-ups. Black women are the ones that kind of save the election. Why is it that you don't have to save nobody? Okay? Black women are not here to save other people. We're not the caped friggin' wonders of the globe. And it's time we stop doing that shit. We have to stop doing that shit. Because when we get stuck in this thing that everybody's putting on us, that we have to always do this stuff for everybody else, we lose out and we end up getting burnt out. We have to stop doing that. We have to take the cape off. Because it's not serving us. We can only serve from a position that our cup is full. Okay, we have to start making decisions to fill our own cup, and we have to let go of the people, we have to let go of the family members, we have to let go of all of them things that are stopping us from being who we want to be. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. I'm talking about you can't serve your kids, you can't serve your community, you can't do none of that if you're not doing the healing work. And that means putting yourself first, and that means having difficult conversations and saying no. And sometimes when you say no to people, they get upset. They get vexed. Oh, who do you think you are? Since you've been doing, since you've been doing all that therapy stuff, you've got a bit, you're not there for me anymore. All that crap. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. The cape gets caught up and it holds us back. It holds you back. And I put my hand up. I put my hand up to that. Even now, I have to, this is why doing the work, it has to be a daily practice. Okay, I'm just going to finish on this. It has to be a daily practice, okay? Now, what I mean by that is you have to take time during the day to sit down and reflect. Sit down and reflect. Okay, what's going on for me today? How am I feeling about being a black woman today? How am I feeling about the election or COVID or whatever it is? What's going on what's my body trying to tell me? A lot of us are so disconnected from our bodies that we we're just numb. We're numb, and that's a survival practice that we've done. We've been taught that from time, that we have to numb ourselves because we have to get on with it. We have to grind. We have to hustle. No, we don't. No, we don't have to hustle and grind. It's time for black women to rest. It's time for black women to rest and learn to say no. And this holiday period, this COVID season, is even more reason for us to be saying no, because everybody wants to drag black women out and go, oh, can you do this for me? Can you help me with that? And everyone's demanding that black women put the cape on and cape for everybody else. But who's caping for us? Who's caping for us? Who's caping for you personally in your life? Tell me, who's caping for you personally? And if you ain't got anybody in your life that's caping for you, it's time to sit down and be honest about that conversation. Forget the grind, right? Forget the grind. Forget all that nonsense. You need to really sit down and think about how am I going to show up for myself? How am I going to show up for myself? And that means telling the truth, asking for help, and letting go of the outcome. Staying willing and trusting that there are bigger things happening for you, for us. And just know, sister, just know that you're not on your own. You're not on your own. And I think that's probably another reason why so many of us find it difficult to do the work, to have the difficult conversations, because you think you're going to do it by yourself. And you don't have to do it all by yourself. I think, and this is another thing that happens with a lot of the black women that come and work with me as well. A lot of them say that they're just tired of doing it by themselves. They're tired of reading the books by themselves. They're tired of doing all the self-help books by themselves. They're tired of listening to writing the journaling, doing it all by themselves. But if you find a space that's safe, and safety is for me, that is one of the most important values in the mastermind and the group that I do with the work that I do with women is safety. Because a lot of us were raised in environments that weren't safe, and a lot of us are afraid to say that. A lot of us are afraid to say that we don't, I was raised in a family that I didn't feel safe around my parents. I didn't feel safe around my mum. I didn't feel safe around my siblings. I didn't feel safe. And without realizing, we've had to protect ourselves, all this survival stuff, because that's the only way that we feel safe. So relationships get hard. Saying no gets hard, and all the rest of it, because we're trying to protect ourselves and feeling safe, because we don't feel safe. And in the mastermind, that has to be paramount. And the ladies know that. I have really firm boundaries around how we talk to each other, how they share in the group, because that in of itself is painful, and it can be traumatic. It can be traumatic to be in spaces that don't honour those boundaries. So that safety conversation and that boundary conversation has to be at the top of the list. Otherwise, I can't work with you. If you're not going to respect that, I can't work with you. Because the group demands it. The healing process demands safety. And you ain't going to feel safe enough to share your stuff, to have those honest conversations, if you don't feel safe. If you don't feel safe, then you're not going to have that. You're not going to feel willing to have it. And this is how the brain works as well, even at an unconscious level. At an unconscious level, the brain needs, and this is why so many of us have got all these traumas that are stuck in our unconscious, and it's acting out in our behaviours. We're doing all these crazy things. We don't even really understand why we're doing all of these crazy things, but it's because we've suppressed all of that stuff over the years. All of the abandonment, all the beatings, all the neglect, all of that kind of stuff. We've hidden all of that. We've suppressed all of that. Because it's not safe to speak it out. And as black people, we've got enough to deal with, having to deal with white supremacy. So we're like, oh no, I can't, black people have got enough to deal with. So I can't really talk about the pain that I feel about my parents. I can't talk about the abuse. I can't talk about none of that because black people have got enough stuff to deal with. But what's important to remember is that in order for us to deal with white supremacy, we have to deal with that. We have to have those conversations first. We've got to have those conversations first. Otherwise, we can't deal with white supremacy because we can't deal with each other. We can't deal with each other. You know? So it's really, really, really important for us to have those conversations and to be really honest with ourselves about, are we really doing the healing work? What does the healing work actually look like? So I'm just going to give you a quick recap of those three things, okay? So what does the healing work really look like? Number one, you have to be willing to tell the truth to yourself, first and foremost. You've got to be willing to tell the truth, okay? Number two, you have to be willing to ask for help. If you find it difficult to tell the truth to yourself, find someone who you can tell the truth to, who you feel safe around, okay? Find somebody who you feel safe enough to tell the truth around. I do offer one-on-one sessions as well. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, you can go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. If you'd like to join me in the mastermind, you can obviously find out the details at the same link. There's different levels of how you can work with me in the mastermind. You can either, there's 2 sessions what you get a month, a masterclass plus a live Q&A. Or you can work with me every week, which is kind of like a really small, intimate group of maximum 12 women. I think I've only got a couple of spaces left in that. So you can pick, that you can pick the different levels, or you can just join the mastermind and just join the library. Thank you so much for putting that in the link. Thank you, Dana and Room to Talk, for posting that. Or you can just get access to the library. I've got a massive library with over, well over 100 and odd live streams, masterclasses, worksheets, all of that kind of stuff. So you can do, if you kind of, if your funds are tight at the moment, you can just join the mastermind and just at library level only, and you can do the work that's self-paced, So have a look there, and there are different ways that you can work with me. I get that there's a lot going on at the minute and people are worried about money, but obviously, the different levels are there to accommodate you as much as possible. Maybe you can start at library level, and then when your money feels a bit more secure, you can upgrade to the next level and get more access, more content. You can access more content, access more time with me as well, more time with me in the mastermind. So the other thing that you can do as well is you can join the I have a Facebook group as well, which is free. And she's asking me to put to send the link. Okay, it's heal, as in HEAL, heal.juneallen.net. Okay, heal.juneallen.net. Okay, thank you, Dana, for saying all of that. Love, Dana. There's different ways that you can do this work, but you don't have to do this by yourself. Okay, please don't feel that you have to do this work by yourself. There's a lot. I'm not just the only one, doing this work. There are a lot more therapists out there that are doing this work. There are a lot more people that are out here doing this work. I mean, obviously, I know I'm one of the few ones that talk about the cultural context, but there are practitioners out there that are starting to have these conversations. But you don't have to do this by yourself, okay? You don't have to do this by yourself, okay? Have an amazing day. I'm going to leave it there for today. If you've got any questions at all, and you don't feel confident to put it in the chat, you can send me a direct message. If you've got any more questions about the mastermind or about what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, please send me a direct message. You can email me info@yardofgreatness.com, and hopefully I will see you soon. Okay, so I'll be here every Thursday now going forward, around this time. So yeah, set your click the notifications if you haven't done already, so that you know when I'm going to be on. And I will see you lovely, beautiful ladies next time. All right, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.